Thank you for tuning in to War Room Gwinnett County. I'm your host, Antonio Jones. As we all know, there's been a lot going on in Gwinnett County as far as the school system, and it seems like the plot just continues to thicken against Calvin Watts, the superintendent. There's been a lot of growing concern over and over about the way he's running the school system, and particularly the disciplinary policies have got parents really up in arms because of all of the fights breaking out and things that are going on in our school system. So today I have a special guest, and he's come across some information relating to two documents that he found through an open records request, showing that Watts in fact was a associate superintendent, I believe, and he probably didn't disclose this on his resume, is what I'm hearing. So, Steve, welcome to the show, and can you tell us what you've discovered about during this open records request about Watts?
Yeah, man. So we've been going through obviously with Watts now about 18 months. And, the guy's got a history of not exactly being forthcoming or honest with a lot of things. But if you go back and look into his application for our superintendent job, he left a pretty substantial job off of it that he held here in Gwinnett before. There's assistant superintendents, which are in charge of principals and schools. And then you have associate superintendents, and what they're in charge of is either various departments or clusters of schools and employees. And in 2012, early 2012, he was promoted from assistant superintendent to an associate superintendent position. And he was in charge of curriculum and instruction, which included special ed and a couple of other departments. And that was in January of 2012. Well, he was demoted from that position not even 6 months later, taken back down to an assistant superintendent position. And that is not disclosed on his application at all. It's not on his resume at all. He just pretends that 6 months of his life didn't even exist. And we knew that because of some former employees who told us, hey, this job was never listed. He was demoted due to the absolute ineptitude that he showed performing the job. And leaving it off his application might be considered a fireable offense because as you go through it, he signs that all of this is 100% truthful to the best of his knowledge and everything else. Well, he just completely left it off. And what bothers me about it is twofold. One, obviously, he knows that this is a bad subject to have on there to show that he couldn't even perform that type of job for 6 months without. Technically, they wanted him fired, but our old superintendent didn't fire people. He would rather just demote them or move them to let them stay employed. But number two, our board has access to his personnel records here in Gwinnett County from when he was here before. So this should have been a no-brainer. I shouldn't have had to open request documents on this. They could have seen this when they were going through the search. So did they see it and just ignore it? Or did they not see it and giving him the benefit of the doubt? Why did he lie and leave it off his application? So it's just another one of those things where he's continuing a trend that he always has, where he conveniently leaves details out to make him look bad. But this is a pretty big omission to leave that off.
Yeah,
And so,
that's a huge omission. I wonder if because this was before he got the job in Kent, right? If I'm
yes,
not mistaken.
yeah.
Okay, I wonder if it was left off before that point. Did they not discover it? Did they look at it too as well?
I've got some feelers out trying to find out. I did have some other documents. We only found one write-up that he actually mentioned having that position. And I think he had it at that time, which is why it was on there. But if you look the internet, you can't find it anywhere else. It's not on his LinkedIn. It's not on his professional resume, our application. So I've reached out to some people in Kent to find out if we can somehow get a hold of those documents there and see if he left it off there as well.
Okay, so with that omission, are there any? Did he violate any potential rules according to maybe some of the laws we have in the state of Georgia, or you don't know the answer to that yet?
I don't know the answer 100%. If you look at the document that he filled out, it's about a 35-page document, the application to be our superintendent. But like I said, there's a signature form that says I verified to the best of my ability this is 100% truthful. I've not left anything off. And so that alone tells me that he knew. He didn't just forget 6 months of his life. He left it off for a reason. And that would be, I would at least consider that a morality clause at a bare minimum, but it would be probably cause if our board finally does come through, do the right thing and fire this guy. to fire him for cause. He fraudulently submitted the application. So then we shouldn't even have to pay him out.
Right, right, because he didn't disclose all the necessary information to allow the board to make a good decision or a sound decision on who to have in here as superintendent. Some of the same things that we saw it in Kent, as I covered before, are exact duplicate of what's going on out here. Not responding. Also, the not following up on a good disciplinary policies are one of the things, one of the write-ups that I personally saw out in on a website that NPR has out in Kent, and it's basically failing the school students. We've got to get something done about this ASAP, and I would hope that the board would do the right thing and vote him out, fire him, or whatever it needs to happen at this point, because what else needs to happen? At this point, our school students, they are not safe. We see a news broadcast, it seems like every other day or every week, of fights breaking out everywhere. And I just don't think that the consequence is holding true to get these students to turn around and do the right thing. And they understand one thing, and that's good sound authority and consequences and swift action.
Well, and I'll tell you where we're at on this. For the longest time, this was a parents thing. They were saying, and of course, different parents were accused of different things. Oh, this is, you're self-serving. This is a race issue. This is whatever it is. We need time for change. It's fine. But in the last 3 months, like you said, every week on the news, fights, weapons, the boy in Norcross that was murdered. And granted, it wasn't on school grounds, but all this stuff started at school. He was led off of school grounds. And more importantly, it's just a continuation. This thing keeps escalating and escalating. And where it's really at to me now, the ones who I feel for more than even our kids are our teachers, because our teachers have been given edicts. They've been given papers that say you're supposed to do this. There's stuff being done verbally, so there's no proof. But, we never told you to not refer these kids. Yeah, you did. Over the phone. You tell them in person where there's no recordings of it. They might not be in writing, but that's the actual day-to-day, because I'm hearing from teachers weekly. I tried to refer this. It was turned down. We had this happen. There's been no consequence. Teacher went to the hospital 2 weeks ago. She broke up a fight at a middle school. She went to the hospital with lacerations and a possible cracked rib. Nothing happened. So when you have this type of thing going on regularly and it's reoccurring and nothing's changing, and all you're getting from our supposed leadership at the top is buzzwords and scripted speeches that don't fit the questions that are being asked, and you don't actually see a change, we've got a big problem. And the board doesn't want to admit that mistake. That's fine. They've already asked him to quit once, and he didn't. They need to step up and do their job and let him go. And if you need proof of that, we're going to keep digging. We're going to keep providing documentation and finding these things. But just yesterday, and I sent this to you earlier, there was an email from a man named James Taylor, Dr. James Taylor. He used to be with Gwinnett. His wife, Wendy Taylor, ran for District 2 board seat back in 2018. She narrowly lost. He was no fan of the previous superintendent. They had some bad blood. And so he was one of the few that was happy to see him go and wanted to see new discipline policies and the change at the top. He put out an open letter yesterday to 70 different community members, clergy, reporters. I happened to end up being on that email list myself, but he sent it to the board and said, look, here's the 5 key things that are a problem that show your ineffectual leadership, and it's got to change. It's got to go. So now even the people who wanted this guy in are making a call for him to be out. So I don't know what more they need, because they didn't want to listen to somebody like me or some of the other parents. But now when the people that were even on your side are saying this isn't working and it's time to go and it's got to change, what more do you need? How much more proof do you need? How much more pressure do you need? Do we need to give you to cover your mistake? Because truly, that's what I think is going on.
Right.
They're so scared to break their pride, and they're so scared of certain community members giving them hell for it, that they just refuse to do the right thing. And the time for all that's over. We've got to fix this now.
Yeah. And the kids are suffering in the process of this.
Absolutely.
Kids have got shot and killed off, not short distance for campus. And kids are, being abused, bullied. All of this is having a mental ramification on the kids as well as the teachers, like you mentioned. We got to support our teachers. Yeah, exactly. And the parents are having to send their kids to school and wonder all day long at work, is my kid getting into, getting jumped on or something like that, or they're going to be running from a bullet? What's going on here? Nothing else really needs to happen other than this school board needs to act, and they need to go ahead and do the right thing for the community. That we don't need to see anything else. Nobody else needs to get beat up or killed in order to make this decision that's right for the community. That's where we at.
And I'll be 100% honest with you. There's been so many factions and all this. There's various parent groups. There's different races and creeds and genders and everybody. And there's been so much backbiting for a year now because one side wants this, the other side wants that. At this point, I don't care who wants what. If we can't all get together as a community, no matter left or right, black or white, whatever it is, this whole thing has got to be all of us against him. And people are starting to see that. Even groups on the left that supported this hire, put this guy in, they wanted certain policies. They're seeing that it's not working. Everybody sees this isn't working except for the clown who put it in place. And if we can get everybody together to realize that this guy wants nothing more than your paycheck and the fame that he's getting from this position, he doesn't want to be here. He wants to go on to bigger and better and more expensive things. He wants to go sell Learning 2025 to other people. He wants to eventually be some big name guy. Go do it. We don't need you here. You haven't worked, so it's time to go. And the next go round, I promise you, if the board has any intention of keeping their place in power, it would really behoove them to bring in a cross-referenced group of parents and community members to assist with that next superintendent search. We don't need a giant expensive search firm. What you need are parents, teachers, and students of all races, backgrounds, everything. Get the feedback from that group when you bring finalists in, and let's find somebody that actually works for Gwinnett County, not who a search firm tells you and not what your political party tells you. You need to find out who's going to work for those 181,000 students, because the clown who says he feels like he has their last name isn't working.
No, absolutely not. Not I feel without a shadow of a doubt that a majority of the parents in Gwinnett County feel the same sentiment. Yeah. Steve, we're going to have you back on. Let the people know how to follow you on social media.
Sure. So obviously, I've got a Facebook page. You just have to look me up. It's Stephen Smith. But the easiest way to get in touch with me or find me, if you look me up on YouTube, I did put a channel up with some videos of old speeches and things. It's Black Hat Dad. If you want to email me, it's blackhatdad2021@gmail.com. If you got information about stuff that's going on in our schools, reach out. If you just want to be able to find me on the other socials, reach out. I'll get you my Twitter information and all that. But what we're trying to do is get a whole group of this community together and make sure we can get this guy out. So if you got anything, reach out.
Sounds good. Look forward to you staying in the fight, brother.
Thanks for having me back on, man.
All right.